Falcons get ready for MAC play this weekend as we welcome in Patrick Andrews from the Toledo Blade back from Starkville. And we'll get to the trip to Mississippi State in a moment, Patrick, but let's first talk about Scott Loeffler. The good news is he is working on what the problem was, a blood clot issue, which is why he couldn't travel to Mississippi State. Finally listened to the doctors, and going forward, Scott Loeffler should be okay and should be able to coach the Falcons from here on out.
Yeah, pretty harrowing week for not only Coach Loeffler, but the entire Bowling Green program. He suffers a blood clot in his lung. He's not cleared to travel by air. It doesn't sound like he'll be cleared to travel by air for a little bit, according to what he said today, but he seems to be in much better condition now and is looking forward to getting on the sideline this week against Akron.
It should be a while before the team needs him to travel by air. The rest of their games are home or very much within a driving distance. So that's the good news. But I suppose from Scott Loeffler's perspective, this is also a teaching moment as well for the players and fans out there that listen to your body, listen to your doctors, because he said he was starting to feel this all the way back to the UCLA game, but just tried to ignore it and tough it out until finally doctor said, no, we need to get this looked at.
Yeah, that was a big surprise to me that he went into that detail about it. But he said, yeah, he was feeling bad after the UCLA game, and I think it's a lesson not only for football people but for the general population. Slow to take a moment to slow down now and again.
And I suppose another part of the story that will surprise some folks is the first text message he received was from Jason Candle, basically saying, take care of your body, take care of your health. Rockets and Falcons don't like each other, but the coaches rise above it because they understand what each one is going through.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool moment. It shows you the respect those programs have for one another at the end of the day, and those coaches. So I think that Coach Loeffler, he knows that there's a lot of people behind him, and I think that bodes well. Obviously, bodes well for him. I think it bodes well for Bowling Green too.
And I think one of the other interesting facts is Scott Loeffler was on Urban Meyer's staff at Florida. This is very similar to what Urban Meyer went through at Florida. So maybe he wasn't paying attention to what Urban was going through. Maybe he should have. But as we said, the good news is he's getting this taken care of. He should be good going forward. The other injury situation with the Mississippi State game, Matt McDonald, hip pointer, got hurt in the Marshall game, did not play against Mississippi State. You could tell the Falcons needed him, but he just wasn't good enough to go.
Yeah, hip pointer is plural, and he was sorely missed by the Falcons against Mississippi State. They put in Camden North, the backup quarterback, who had only attempted 2 passes going into the game, and it was pretty rough sledding for him. Your first time playing college football against an SEC defense, even if it is a Mike Leach defense, it wasn't easy for him. But he gave a good account of himself through 2 touchdowns against 1 interception. And Bowling Green got some young guys in, and it was pretty. All things considered, they got out. They did no further damage was done, and that was what they needed after the week they had.
What other positives do you think the Falcons can take out of that game against the Bulldogs?
Another nice game for J.B. Brown on defense. He's really emerging as a decent player. He's an inside linebacker. Back-to-back really solid performances. He had those 2 forced fumbles against Marshall. He comes up, he's good tackling and good coverage against Mississippi State. And on offense, two freshmen playing pretty well. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end out of Canton, freshman tight end. He's their leading receiver, 5 catches for 49 yards. Jalen Jennings, freshman running back, gets some run. I think Bowling Green, it's good for them. Even if they're getting blown out, they got to get something good out of it. They got to put in these young guys, play these young guys, because as you'll hear Loeffler and the veterans preach ad nauseum, these are the future of the program.
1-3 Bowling Green hits the road to take on 1-3 Akron. The Zips' only win came week 1 against St. Francis. That's St. Francis of Pennsylvania, maybe just a step above of St. Francis on Bancroft Street or St. Francis de Sales down in Columbus. Not a good St. Francis team. Akron barely beat them, but they did play pretty well this past week against Liberty. What are you expecting from this Falcons-Zips game? Well,
if there's one program in the MAC that's had it as bad as Bowling Green the last few years, it's Akron. They've won 3 games in the past 2 years. 2 of them have been against Bowling Green. The pandemic hit the University of Akron particularly hard. But now they're showing signs of life. They played Liberty pretty tough this week, as you said, and they have a versatile team. We heard Darren Andrews say today that DJ Arns, Akron's quarterback, is, quote, a big boy and a good athlete. So he'll pose some problems for this defense. But they faced running quarterbacks before. They faced Dorian Thompson-Robinson week 1. Henry Colombi could move a little bit for Marshall. So they'll have the experience, and if the defense can get some stops early, I think it'll be huge for their confidence in Akron on Saturday.
Is Matt McDonald going to be able to go against the Zips? Do the Falcons need McDonald to beat the Zips?
Yes and yes. McDonald's going to be ready to go, and Orth he was capable on Saturday, but you got to have all hands on deck if you're Bowling Green from this point going forward. I think all three of the people that we heard from Bowling Green this week, Loeffler, Jakari Robinson, Darren Andrews, they all said some variation of every week's for like the Super Bowl from here on out. I think it was Jakari Robinson who said Loeffler actually went up to the whiteboard and physically wrote the record of every MAC team on the board, and every team the MAC is 2-2 or 1-3. It doesn't look like there's much separation. You have Kent State losing to Georgia, but looking good doing it. You have Miami, Ohio beating Northwestern on my alma mater, which is very sad, and looking pretty bad doing it. So this is a hard conference to make sense of, and it feels like a team could get hot, and you never know, Bowling Green could be that team. But to be that team, they need Matt McDonald at the helm. As
you referenced, we heard from Jakari Robinson this week. Jakari Robinson is finally eligible to play. Why is that a big deal?
It's a big deal because this has been an offensive line where they've had to shuttle guys in and out. Cade Zimmerly got hurt from Perrysburg. They've had to use Jalen Grain at center. That's in his natural position. Jakari Robinson center is his natural position, and he's a guy who's been around the block a lot. 3 years at Cincinnati where he won. He was on their AAC title team in 2020. A year at Memphis, we played in 7 games, and now he's at Bowling Green. Scott Loeffler has been pushing this very hard. He's made the case, I think correctly, that this is a pretty Byzantine process that didn't allow Jakari to be eligible right away. And he missed the first 4 games, but they sorely missed him. He gets in against Mississippi State. He plays pretty well. He provides a boost to their offensive line. Bowling Green pointed out his first drive was a 97-yard touchdown drive for the Falcons. So he gets in there. He provides some veteran leadership there's a lot of young guys in that offensive line room. They could use his voice, and he's gonna be big for them going forward.
Proving the power of social media, Jakari Robinson learned, like the rest of us did, he was eligible thanks to Twitter.
Yeah, that was a funny anecdote. Robinson was asked today, how did you find out? And he said, oh yeah, Tyrone Broden read it to me, but he's been grateful. We heard from him after the Mississippi State game where he was grateful then. He's from the South. He talked about growing up wanting to go to a school like Mississippi State or Auburn or Georgia. Those were the schools he named, and getting to play his first college game at Bowling Green in an SEC building in front of family. I think that was very special for him.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick Andrews from the Toledo Blade, as he covers Bowling Green Falcons each and every week. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mark.